Hey, I'm Ian Cowell, and you're listening to the Super Gamer Podcast. Over to you, Mark.
Welcome to the Super Gamer Podcast. Welcome to the new Super Gamer Podcast, the VGM Con Extravaganza Part Deux. I am recording this standing up because I'm in severe pain. I have got some shoulder pain that has flared up, old injury from rugby when I was a teenager that I got surgery for when I was 31-ish. Why am I telling you this? Because what is the point in being brutally hurt unless you can complain about it? Seriously, though, I'm in so much pain. This is the final episode, direct from VGM Con. 2 interviews for you. Ian Cowell and Abandon Quest. Thank you to them so much for taking the time to talk to me. Thank you for being here to listen. Without further ado, on with the show. Ow, 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 ow. First guest of the weekend is a musician, a producer, a Link cosplayer, guitarist in Birthday and Psychic Hit, and in the Indigogos, and purveyor of the dorkly arts. We have Ian Cowell here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being on the show, and I love being at VGM Con. I love podcasts. It's a great mishmash of things I enjoy, and hotel lobbies that also remind me of like a very well-off grandmother's home, in like I almost said John Hughes film. It's got, John Waters probably wouldn't have anything that looks like this, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Pulling up to this place, it actually, it's on Campus Road, so it's probably in my head already, but I was like, this looks like a school.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does have like local, really good community college kind of vibe. There's a community college near where I live called Diablo Valley College, and their big thing is, Tom Hanks went here, and it does have a Tom Hanks possibly would have went here kind of experience, or like Chet Hanks, the lesser son, right, compared to Colin Hanks. Not that I can put them on a tier list or anything.
I feel like it's a big jump from Tom Hanks went here to Chet Hanks went here.
It's just because you're in the same gene pool does not mean you have the same genius as the guy from Big and Joe. It's like, don't mention all the big stuff he's been in. Joe versus the Volcano, is it? Yeah, Forrest Gump. You all know who Tom Hanks is. Hey, it's great to be here at VGM. And I probably totally ruined that.
No. So I knew you were playing here, as Ian Cowell. I didn't know you were playing with Audio Mocha. You were also Hyrule Herb, Dancing Link guy, yes, whatever you want to say. So this VGM Con, this Oops All Zelda, this must feel like a homecoming to you.
Absolutely, it does. And when they first put the vote up last year, I think it was on Discord of what would the theme be. It was pretty unanimous that it would be Oops All Zelda. And I had gifs of myself and things to throw in there, like, obviously it has to be it. Even Austin is walking by right now, too, who, wouldn't you say I was one of the first people who really was like, please do Zelda as your theme if it was the way? Yeah, he's laughing, so I'm guessing that's an okay, or that's weird that I asked him as he walked by. But yeah, it does feel like a homecoming. Though probably by the time this airs, you'll realize I have very little Zelda in my set, and that's pretty intentional. But it makes sense if you see it. I'm trying to think of a way to word that. Just being the Link dude, whatever that entails, it definitely feels like a homecoming. This is the first place where the Zelda 2 dance was performed in front of a live audience last year, which was great because the guys from Night of the Round, they showed up in their van right when I started this set, and right when we were getting into that song, they came in, and then we had everyone dancing, and Mark, who's also playing this weekend, Mark Schimmelbusch Mon, he was there in his Bloodborne costume, and it's all family here, and it's beautiful, and it's a bunch of fucking wonderful, sweaty dorks just having a good time together, and hopefully in a lot of Link cosplay, so I'm not the only, chubby, 30-something dad in a costume who's not officially Link, but, officially Link at the same time. So, yes, in short, it does feel like a homecoming, Mark.
Well, other than the dad part, I consider myself a chubby kind of Link cosplay guy right now, in his 30s, so there you go. I saw you jamming upstairs earlier here. I know at least you and Audio Mocha are not from the same place. How do you prepare for a show when you don't actually live, you can't jam together?
That's the $1 million question. It's a lot of group texts, chats, emails, Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever your format is, things getting sent back and forth. It's really stressful, but it always ends up being a great payoff because the community is so embracing and loving, and it's all referential material. Everyone knows the music, or they're getting turned on to games or to composers they've never heard of because of it. So really, it's just hoping that the other people are practicing and are ready and are communicating as well as they can. But I think VGM too has a long history of bands that we see them as an audience, and we're super juiced to go see bands like Metroid Metal or I can't speak for bands like the Ones, but lots of these groups, they come together and they don't live local to one another. They're convention bands, so day of or maybe a day out, they're practicing in a small room. Maybe they have a lot of equipment or they don't, and it's a big challenge. And it's a lot of faith in the other people, but we're all really good friends, and we love each other musically and as peers, and have a lot of trust that the other person is gonna hold up their end of it, and at the end of the day just have a good time. But it's definitely a challenge as opposed to people who can meet up 1 to 2 times a week and prepare often like a local band can. And there's also a lot of bands here who are, you could probably see that difference too, where they're extremely tight. Chances are they're probably local to one another, but we are one of many bands here that have just flown in from different parts of the US and Canada to practice for 2 to 3 hours once today, and then put on a good show.
In the Publisher article by Dave Hughes last year, you were called a rodeo musician. I don't know what that is. What's a rodeo musician?
So that's the funny thing. I live in a really small town in the Bay Area in California called Rodeo.
Oh, I see.
It's a rodeo, but unless you live there, you wouldn't know. So everyone thinks it's rodeo, and I get that a lot. Where it's like, am I doing cowboy music or country or twangy stuff? No, I just live in a really small census designated place called Rodeo. It's a refinery town. The rent is very cheap. I'm not going to be there much longer. Lease is coming up to an end. But if you've ever heard a Bruce Springsteen song about longing in a small New Jersey town, just imagine that on the West Coast and without anything Bruce Springsteen. Fun fact, though, the band Green Day is from there, and I forget who, a previous member of the Oakland Athletics. Thank you so much. I love you. You're a good friend. I guess me. Now.
Well, I got 2 things to say here. Okay, first off, your band, one of your band's birthday, you had your music played at an Oakland A's game in 2017.
You're doing great research.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We did. There was a guy who just was. He worked there for the social media team, I think, and then he also during certain games they let him kind of DJ stuff while the players were warming up or the game was getting started. So we had an album come out in 2017, and the title track is called Wolf Dads, and which was a play on the band Wolf Mother, because we were joking, it has a lot of church organ and stuff, but it's very video gamey, rock and synth music. And so the guy really liked it, and he had it playing at the local games for a season, and that was exciting because I'm a fan of one of the worst baseball teams in history, the Oakland Athletics, and but to have our music there, it feels good as a local act. So yeah, that was a really big deal for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't happen to be at the game,
not once. They could have Who Let the Dogs Out or something else, or usually Mac Dre or E40 or good local stuff, but never birthday when I was there. But just knowing it was happening was extremely exciting. So to the 100 people out there having overpriced hot dogs when that was going on, I really appreciate you. It was a really big moment for us.
So you mentioned Green Day being from where you're from. A little gag, if you ever want to use it. So my uncle is from my dad's side of the family. They're all from Northern Ireland, from Northern Ireland, and they lived on the same street. My uncle was a goalie in soccer, quite a good one, but he lived on the same street growing up as who ended up being the Northern Irish national goalie. So his favorite joke is always, he goes, his name is Francie, and the goalie who ended up being the national goalie was Pat Jennings, and he goes, "Oh, who's the second best goalie ever out of Northern Ireland?" And then he goes, "Pat Jennings." So you can do that about Green Day. You can be like, "Who's the second most famous person out of Rodeo?" Green Day.
You have to like grade things on a curve, or you're like, there's only so many fish in a very small pond. It's easy to feel like you're. Go to any pub gig and you'll see probably like a musician better than anyone you've seen, but they're hot shit in their own small town. So that's always coming to events like this is great when you have really fucking talented people coming from all over the world, and you're just from like a really small shitty town where like, but there you're really cool. So yeah, it's a funny and humbling experience, but I like that anecdote. Stuff like that's so great. It's the ultimate glory by association.
Right.
It's like I also lived in the same zip code, and I'm sure there's other people there with the same amount of tax debt and had cool things happen, but we just don't know because it's a bedroom community.
Has anything ever gone catastrophically wrong doing the audio for Mag West? Or like any story you can think of where it's like, how are we going to pull this one off?
Thankfully, no, not for me, and mostly because that was all handled by my good friend Gene Draband. He would have me come and assist so that I wouldn't have to pay, basically, to get in. That's the best part about conventions is volunteering. So I volunteered my time to be staff and sound, and luckily, nothing catastrophic has gone wrong. Like, someone's playing bass and you don't get signal to a wedge, and tracing a cable. I never had to deal with anything big because I never did anything main stage. I think most catastrophic is like having to tell the Super Soul Bros that they're playing Luigi Raceway for too long and you have to stop them and everyone loves them, so like you're a dick. But again, I had Gene say that, not me, so it's not really my problem. But for me, no, but I've seen things happen for other people, which I think is I've definitely, in my life as a sound person, I've had things go catastrophically wrong. Thankfully not at a music and video gaming convention. Thank goodness. Not yet, at least, but there's still time. We still have our set tomorrow, so we'll see.
Enough. Yeah, is there a quick, like, what's something what's like, oh, we've just ruined the show?
Yeah, not in MAG. I mean, I just completely unrelated to any of this. I had to do, I remember, sound for it was a combined Wizard of Oz and The Wiz live production in a hotel ballroom that was L-shaped, so you couldn't see one side. And they had hay bales everywhere, and people in crow costumes, and they all had microphones on that are called countryman microphones, so they go over your ear, and they hang right in the front, and they're very sensitive. So I had 10 people in those cawing really loud in a circle and flapping their wings, and it was causing a lot of feedback. And I was like heckled by like the councilman of the city's like assistant who was inebriated and said I needed a new job. And then I went to my car that night and it was full of ants. It was a very disappointing 16-hour day.
Not related. No one like put ants in your car. Right?
No, I just happened to park next to a hill of ants, and they were like, "How can we make the situation worse?" And if you're as small as an ant is, you can find your way into many, many vehicles, which, hey, any indie developers out there want an idea for a game, ants going into different mid-size four-cylinder vehicles and getting whatever crumbs from a 7-Eleven run, we're lifting there. And
it's the new Sim Ant.
How can we elevate the Mr. Mosquito concept and not sexualize it as much? But I don't know. It's such a stupid idea, but yeah, that would be the worst thing that's happened in a live production. But thankfully, not video game music related or MagWest or MagFest related.
Have you finished Skyrim yet?
No, I have not. I was having a big talk about this with my bassist Carrie, and how I started it on the 360, probably got 200 hours in, didn't finish it. Played it again on the Switch, played it again on Steam, played it again on the Xbox Series X, and it's like I always get to about the same point, and then I either somehow contract vampirism or become a werewolf, not in the way I want to, and then I just kind of like soft lock myself into like a bunch of quests, and I stop for like 6 months, I go back and play, and I'm disappointed in myself, and then I start a new run of Fallout New Vegas. So one day I will. probably when I give Todd Howard my money for like the 6th time. Not the 4th. But no, not yet.
I'm in the same boat with Final Fantasy IX, which is weird because I love Final Fantasy IX. It's like possibly my favorite one. Yeah, and I always get to the same, like, somewhere in the 3rd disc area or whatever that equivalent would be, and I've bought it on several different things, right? And then I just, like, stop, and I come back, and I'm like, I don't remember what's going on. I have to restart, and then it just never gets
It's
to
hard
the
to
end.
keep the energy going with an RPG and something that has a lot of story that you're really trying to follow, unless you're someone just kind of, like, running through all the dialogue. Like, if you really care or has an intricate battle system, I have to start over, and I've started over many times. I used to really, like, be someone who felt like they had to finish a game, no matter what, no matter if I remembered. Now it's like, I'm getting too old for that. If I don't remember anything, what's the investment besides the dopamine drip of, like, I have stolen, like, 30 loaves of bread from, like, an alchemist hut, and now I can't walk. Which is a game within itself. Again, thank you, Todd Howard, for that, not for other things. But I'll gladly give you money a 5th time when you find a new way to sell me the game. So, Oblivion, though, I'll tell you that. Maybe it's because I was an undergrad, but I played the fuck out of that game. I did everything in Oblivion. And, but I don't really know if that's a positive thing. It was really good at the time, but looking back, it has not aged well. But I don't know, maybe they'll take the next generation out, like, Gen Z is, like, really into Morrowind, so whatever the next generation is, maybe we'll really be into to Oblivion, and then it'll be cool again. But yeah, haven't finished Skyrim.
I have to ask about. So you are Ian Cowell. You are not Ian Cowell.
I am not Evan Cowell. No, I am not. We have become friends. We were nemesis for a very long time, or at least that's the way it was made to be. But Evan and I have a really long history of just being two guys the exact same age who live in the same area, who can't grow a beard and have the same, like, D'Artagnan, Three Musketeers facial hair. Thank you, Pedro Pascal, because you're making this normal for all of us. And, like, same size, same height, and they're just two dorky dudes who make dorky music. And so when Birthday first started, I would have people hit me up and say, like, oh, hey, your profile picture changed, or you have a new band, and I haven't heard from you in a while. And it's like, I don't know who any of these people are, but they're offering me a show with money, and this is very exciting. And I'd always show up at a venue, and then I'd get a kind of a weird look. We'd perform, and then get, you're not who I thought you were, but that was really good. So I think 3 or so shows I was booked. There used to be an event in San Francisco called Turbo Drive, which was a synthwave event that went on for a long time. Got booked for that because they thought I was Evan Cowell. He quickly realized that my name was Ian Cowell and still kept us on the bill. Then I played an event with 8-Bit SF, which, funny enough, is how I met Jay Kim, my bandmate. Good to see you, Audio Mocha. Great set, by the way.
Thank you.
And so that was one where our friend Morgan Tucker, I think is his name, he was in a band. He's in a band with Evan, and he didn't even know who he was hitting up. And he hit me up on Facebook. He goes, "Oh, you changed your profile picture, but I like your new project. Haven't talked in a while. Do you want to play an event for GDC week?" Yeah, sounds good. And I'm like, this is a really comfortable conversation. I've tried talking to this guy before. I didn't feel like we had a connection. I was just kind of talking to him randomly. And but then he's being really nice, and I show up, and he's looking me up and down, and finally, after sound check, he goes, "Okay, so you're not who I thought you were. I thought you were Evan, but you guys could, obviously you could still play, and I'm so sorry about that." And then the third time was my friend Ozui, and they hit me up and said, "Hey, do you want to do an event in San Jose?" I think this was during... No, this was not Fanime. This was another thing. But they asked if I'd come out and do an event, and it was for Silicon Valley Comic-Con. That's what it was. I had to remember what it was. But they invited me out to come and play an event and said, "Hey, it's me. I booked you for Sub-Zero." I'm like, I have no idea who you are. And they kept telling me everything from, like, their height, their every, physical specific thing about them. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know who you are." And they thought I was being rude, and they quickly realized after meeting me, I was not their friend, even though I have a completely different name, and his name is not Ian, his name is Evan. So if anything, it's not even this guy's fault. It's the fault of all our friends who know that his stage name is just the initials EN, but obviously his name is Evan, and they don't call him Ian. So
okay,
what does it say about friends who don't remember names?
Like, hearing your act, like, Ian Cowell versus Ian Cowell, I mean,
yeah,
my God.
I would totally get it, but if I was reading it, and maybe I'm just sensitive to it because I'm Ian Cowell.
Right.
And he was too. When this whole thing was first happening, he did not find it funny. And then finally actually, as mentioned earlier, my friend Gene has a podcast called Pixelated Audio, and he had us on there for MagWest 2018 birthday. Played on the main stage there, so it was us and Michaela from she was in Tetramino, and Evan Cowell, and then Chris and Josh of Runaway 4, and that was my first real time meeting them as well. And so we were all on a panel together discussing our favorite game soundtracks, and that's when I first really met Evan. And we were joking about, oh, we both look so attractive, and oh, we could trade places and that. But the day prior, he was not, or 2 days earlier, he was not a fan of me because I went to go check in, and they said, oh, you've already checked in. I don't know how I could have. You need my ID and that. So Nick, my bandmate and birthday, and I go up to our room and go in, and there was someone else's belongings, like a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and we're like, this looks like someone else is already staying in here. So I went down and told them, and then that's when Evan walks up, and he's like, I think someone's been in my room. So somehow, even though we're legally different people with completely different government IDs, he was given my room, and we had to do a room swap, and then I got what was supposed to be his room. And a few people who were already drinking were yelling, fight, 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 in the lobby.
Oh, boy.
And, which we were just like, shut up. We're not going to do that. But, it was definitely, I could tell it was irritating for him. It was becoming less of a joke and more irritating for me. But I was also had to look at it like, he's getting me free gigs. He's getting me exposure from the name confusion that luckily were good enough to keep the shows. But then after a few years of him not performing, and then we ended up doing I would go to shows and he would be performing, and I would have people asking, what time are you on tonight at the DNA Lounge? And I'd be like, I'm not playing tonight. What do you mean? Your name's on the bill. It's like, no, that's Evan Cowell. So a few years later, it went from people thinking that I was him to people thinking that he was me. So then it got to be a whole swap. And then I went and I saw him perform, and we actually sat and talked. And since then, we've been communicating regularly and see each other at shows, and I've joked about doing a Cowell versus Cowell night where he does a lot of his really intense IDM and chiptune stuff, and then collaborate on something. But yeah, we've since become friends. But it was from 2016 to 2020. It was a good 4 years of people not getting it right.
That's wild.
And it working out for both of us in the end. So both of us getting audiences at our shows because of it.
There's a lot more to. I honestly thought that would just be a funny sort of oh no, that's not.
Yeah,
me.
there's a few other shows out there. I think I've done interviews where this has been it goes into it's a whole fucking thing, and can't wait till someone gets the book deal on this.
So on the Adrian Has Issues podcast, you had talked about being a gamer dad.
Yeah.
You were a dad, you were a gamer, your kids are gamers. What's been your dadliest moment while gaming with your kids? And take that as you will.
Oh, man.
Whether that's schooling them or whatever.
I am always needed for Mario Odyssey for my son Elroy, and he's getting really good. And same with Vera, my oldest. They're almost 10. Elroy is 5. And he loves Mario. What 5-year-old doesn't love Mario? But I have now... God, I know the story beats to that game like the back of my hand, and I love Mario Odyssey. I can say it's one of the best games just in platforming, and I'm 35. I love Super Mario 64. It's always going to have a spot in my heart. It has the tightest controls. It's what I think of when I think of 3D, and I think a lot about how for my kids, Mario Odyssey is that game. That's the game they think about when they think about Mario games. And he went through and multiple times erased my save file, which predate his existence. And I was pretty bummed about that because he would just fly around in the Odyssey to different worlds and explore things, and if a Goomba popped up, he'd get scared, and I'd take him out, and I'd feel like a big man, and I look good in my son's eyes. And but since he's deleted the files and be really upset that he's not at the world he wants to go to, that means that I have to sit down and really get through a lot of that game. So we've had spring break weeks where it's okay, can I get to the end of this game within 2 days? And then I need 250 more moons to get to the dark side of the moon. Shit, I gotta play more of this game now. So I've actually gotten really good at Mario Odyssey. Between my oldest watching people do speedruns on YouTube Kids and on Twitch, and then me realizing there were button combinations I didn't know existed in 2017 when the game came out, and I was just stoned playing it in an office working alone. And I've since gotten really good at some of the jumps in that game to help my 5-year-old not be upset that he doesn't have enough Goombas to woo, as he calls her, Mommy Goomba, the one in the hat. And that's my dadliest thing, is just helping him with that, I would say. Or having to win a race in Mario Kart. Even if I put on assistance or steering control, if he's not winning, it's been a big lesson in it's okay to not win. losing is okay, and then it's a binary in that age group. A lot of times, like, I didn't win, this sucks. And so I think Mario Kart is a really good way of teaching, like, you're not always gonna win. And because grown adults get fucking furious when they get hit with a blue shell, and I think, teach your kids about money management, to not get screwed by the IRS, to not get screwed by the banks, and help introduce that with Mario Kart, but don't do it to beat them down or say that life is negative. Just, that the government is going to take a lot of your money, and Mario Kart, I think, is a really good example of that with the blue shell and the way it doles things out. And but it's also a great unifier and shows us that universal basic income is important. I stand for it, and I think everyone has that in Mario Kart, and that everyone has a chance. I don't think I really made a point there, so
no, I'm into it. Weird side note, I used to live, not from there, but lived there for 5 years, a place called Dauphin, where apparently basic minimum income was, like, first tested. Not while I was there. It was like years before, But yeah, apparently we were like the test community.
Jesus. Yeah, I would love to be the test community, because California is very, very expensive to do anything. But come out to California. We love having people here to show how great it is, because the rent sucks. I don't know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
Well, let's end it on, I know you've talked about this before too, and along the same lines. What message do you have? What would you say to people who think maybe they've aged out of being like a cool musician, cool gamer, whatever?
Oh man, I love that question too, because you've never aged out of anything that you enjoy or that brings you joy. Look, as long as you're not infringing on anyone's human rights, and it's a good time, and enjoy the things that you enjoy. And I think it's really easy in our world, in the way for a lot of us, maybe from 20 to 50 years old, however old you are or older, we grew up kind of hearing this is for kids, or this is for teenagers, or this is a young person's thing. And that's just I feel bad when that's a mentality people just go to, and I find myself doing it too. I'm only 35. I'm not old. I feel old sometimes. I was the first of my friends who had kids. It made me feel old very quick, but it got it to where I really focused on things that I enjoyed, and when I just let things be things that I love, and I embraced it fully without trying to, make it this thing that defines me. Funny enough, that's when opportunities came up. When I really stopped trying and just started to enjoy my passions without worrying, I'm too old, I'm a dad, I have this job or this type of expectation. There are people in this community that have some of the most white collar, you wouldn't think that they're going out shredding and doing incredible shit, or just playing some of the most out there stuff, and it's every walk of life. And what I love about this community is that it is a great unifier of people across so many different racial and socioeconomic backgrounds who just fucking love really good music and have a lot of positive experiences from their youth tied to it. And it's something that we're all able to age. It's aged very gracefully. And VGM now, it's aquatic ambience is the new autumn leaves. It's become jazz standards in a sense. And I mean, look at what Charlie Rosen and Jake Silverman have done with their Grammy win. Look at what's happened, when more and more people are discussing video game music as a normal thing. And you're never too old to do anything, whether it's this, you want to get into cooking, you want to get into dancing, jogging, watercolor painting, whatever your fucking thing is, Gunpla, Legos, do the thing that makes you happy. Because you're gonna age, you're gonna feel older than you ever will be physically when you tell yourself, I'm too old for this thing. Just don't do that. Let yourself enjoy things and don't feel shame in it. Easier said than done. I have to explain that I dress up like Link and dance around people, but own it. Enjoy the things that you love, and it's eternal, and it doesn't age. You don't age as much. I don't know. It's just important to. It's what keeps you young in a way, but not like trying to chase an old glory of high school. A lot of people, I find it weird when you got somebody who's in their 50s trying to chase, when I was in high school, that was my glory days. That shouldn't be your glory day, It's you should always be living and finding things that excite you, and don't ever think you're too old to do something that brings you joy. It's as simple as that.
Ian Cowell, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate being on the show, and thanks for listening. And if you're at VGMCon or you were at VGMCon, spread the word so it can happen again next year. And yeah, check me out, dude. Go online, look up Ian Cowell. It used to be a bunch of like British optometrists and dentists, and now you get me in there. You'll probably be able to tell from the tone of my voice and how I've described myself in the pictures on Google who I am. But if you go to iancowell.com or you just go at Neon Cowell, NEONCOWELL, my first name, Ian, IAN, you will find me very fast.
I'm here with Abandon Quest. I've got 4 people here, so I'm gonna get you guys to introduce yourselves so everyone has your voice.
Hello, I am Jimmy Granger. I am the piano player in the band.
Hi, I'm Andy Shi. I play synth and guitar.
Hello, my name is Dan Knopflicek. I play bass.
Dan the man on bass.
My name is Mike Green, and I play guitar.
And our drummers and sax player are probably chilling at home, sleeping, recovering from a long day yesterday.
Yes, Colin and Nelson.
It was an awesome show last night.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and actually, I'll just start with, I've interviewed Theology before, and he was really excited that I got to see you. He said Abandon Quest is his favorite VGM band.
Oh, wow.
So
That
that's
is
fun.
so nice of him. Well, he's our favorite DJ and almost favorite person. Like, he's such a good person, you know.
Very big supporter of what we do.
It's hard to find people who are just so pour so much into their friends, you know. Even if you're just starting to become friends, you know. It's hard to come by. So
Yeah, he's a super open person and just like really like we're just chatty together. We communicate a lot in Discord, and we just kind of got to be friends really quickly. So the
Very
collab just kind of
positive person.
happened.
yeah.
It was dope.
So I know you've been playing in bands together for a while now, but in 2020, Abandon Quest started, as it is.
Yes.
On your Twitch, you've got in your bio you say you quickly found your sound. How would you describe your sound?
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
question.
kind of, it's almost like each individual person has their own kind of sound, and then when you put it together, it doesn't really fit a particular genre, you know.
It's like Thundercats.
Yeah.
There's like a red one.
Oh my god.
Because, like, we do have the distorted guitar, we have the shredding, but our drummer is more of like a jazz fusion guy. So when you put those two together, it becomes this conglomerate that I guess you could still call it jazz fusion if you really want to call it something. But man, we try to do a couple of different genres, you know, within the VGM space.
I mean, we have a strong funk vibe, strong rock,
Yes.
metal, aggressive.
Yeah.
There's like a neoclassical element, but there's probably like if you just pick under the surface, there's probably like 5 elements that are really prevalent. And
I would say the biggest thing is the harmony shredding between the guitar and the guitarist, and then couple that with the drummer,
And
then everyone else is kind of there to support that.
maybe even like looking at arrangements. You know, we might take a simple song and modulate it, and just throw like everything in the kitchen sink at us. Simple song, and so sometimes we overwrite just to flex or like build a fortress, so to speak.
Well,
to
that's the
play
fusion
chord,
element,
I
I
guess,
guess,
yeah,
right?
But like it's written into the song that like these are gonna go higher than this. We like didn't take a shack, but let's just say we took a Rambler house and we built a 2-bedroom.
How can I make Zephyr harder? Let me add a Blaze Blue bridge to it.
Yeah, let's. Because even Undefeatable, we'll talk about that arrangement,
Yeah.
Jimmy, for the Sonic 2
Well, yeah. So we did that Sonic Frontiers song,
last night.
and
which was awesome.
It's like a metal.
It was like very
almost-
Dragon Force to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
sped
Yeah,
up
I guess
metal.
a good way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yep.
And you know, it kind of fits our sound. So then our guitarist Andy actually added a section from, is it a Galnerius song?
Well, it's partly
He
inspired
loves Galvan.
Yeah.
from that.
So we'll add. Galnerius is a Japanese version of Dragon Force, basically. Like if you
Better,
but
better,
Much better than Dragon.
better.
yeah, I mean,
Better exclamation
They're like
point.
top of the line like musicians, you know. Yeah.
And hey, didn't they play? Is it true? Like some of those musicians played on the Holy Orders music?
not Holy Orders. They play in the
Blaze
Blue, Chrono
yeah.
Phantasma.
So
all
if you need
those.
to know how good these people are, just on like not even their original music, they're playing on that is like demonstrated of the highest level of musician. They're extreme. I don't know, like Bach metal, classical.
So we leave
Japanese.
it up to them to shred. The guitarist and the keytarist. Everyone else, we. But now, things are a little different because now we're jamming out with our friend Nelson on sax.
Nelson Devereaux.
And Nelson Devereaux, yes, he's toured with Boney Bear. Really good guy, really good saxophone, flute player. And now it's almost like we take turns, between him and then the two shredders,
The two shredders. That's what they call me in music college.
I would just say like the saxophone.
I didn't like it.
We're starting to get a little bit more jazz elements just with the saxophone and timbre, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what kind of the funk and the fusion and jazz kind of more,
The Shantae arrangement we did last night, when the soloing was guitar and then sax and then me. So
Right.
cool.
Yeah, we have our soloists,
So trading three soloists.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say too, like, we definitely kind of started off doing more traditional cover stuff, and just kind of like didn't really arrange it a lot, and it was kind of like a rock fusion funk thing, and then now it's like we're really getting into like the arrangements, composition of it. It's kind of getting to be its own beast,
And you do a lot of collabs, and like not even just musically. Like last night, you had Stepmania, like doing Stepmania while you played, synced up to it. And I know you did a Smash tourney recently. First, I want to talk about Stepmania though, because that's crazy to me. I need to know, like, are the arrows as they're performing, like, is that actually synced to you playing live?
100%.
Yeah.
Holy,
Oh yeah, dude.
that's crazy.
That's the whole point of it. Yeah.
So if you screw up, it's gonna screw them.
To an extent. Yeah, to an extent.
Right.
They
If we play something different, that
Yeah.
will conflict with what they're doing, I guess.
Or
right.
if like we're a little bit behind the beat.
Sure.
But they've been playing that game as long as we have been musicians. They've been playing their whole life, basically.
They're pros.
Jeremy started in 2001. Started playing Dance Dance Revolution, and all those guys are just monsters.
Two
Monsters,
babies hijacking
crazy
an
monsters.
interview.
And crazy fun fact, the best DDR player in the world at one point was from Rochester, Minnesota, which is about an hour and a half away from here. And
Awesome, we did a
I am Chris
lame
for life.
Minnesota brag.
So this
Humble brag.
this scene of like Minnesota dance gamers extends. It has like a reach that maybe not so many other states might have potentially.
So the Stepmania folks aren't here. I was going to ask them to teach me because I had never played any DDR style game until very recently. But I always thought, like, I'm not athletic, like, and that looks fun. I bet it'd be okay. And I tried it on like the easiest mode, and I was horrible.
It's not intuitive because you
super
don't
hard.
walk in those directions. It's not
Right.
walking, and it's not really dancing, right?
Yeah.
Let's
It's
be
not
honest.
dancing.
It's very challenging. Yeah.
It's very.
They didn't want to be called dancers. They were like, we're steppers or players.
Yeah.
That's great
Because,
if you have OCD and you've been like trying to not walk on
I love
adjacent lines your whole life. You're like, this is the game created for me. Or something.
Right.
I don't know who this game is for. It seems like a torture program.
So you've tried it before?
DDR style, I don't know what it was
Yeah.
called, but there's like an arcade back home where,
Oh,
I
yeah?
was like, okay, I got this, and I did not.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten into like Guitar Hero or any of the other?
A little bit. Like I sing, so
yeah.
I love anytime. I actually was trying to find they were supposed to do Rock Band karaoke here, but I think probably
that's
there
what I
wasn't
heard, too.
enough.
I couldn't find
people.
it.
It wasn't. It was all packed up. I found. Like, okay, well. And I remember similarly to the DDR. I think one of my problems. I tried Rock Band on the drums one time. And I think I'm just bad at like hitting the spot that it recognizes.
Oh,
like,
the
I'm like
drums
on the edge of the
especially.
drum, so it's
Oh
just
my gosh.
not recognizing. And I think for the stepping, probably similar.
Depending on the arcade, yes, 100%. There are some arcades that they do not take care of their pads.
They're not
So you
calibrated.
gotta
and stuff.
slam it to register it, But thankfully, somehow, I don't even know how this happened, but a little after-school program for kids was closing in the area, and they sold me the pads you saw on stage for a really good price, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, totally. So
Tell them about the other one though,
those are
because you had pads before that too.
yeah. Normally those kinds of dance pads are really hard to get because I had to import it from Alibaba in China, and then it took so long to get here. I already got those ones locally, and I'm like, well, I can just sell the ones I got.
Nice.
Yeah, if you're ever into getting into like dance games at home, it's a whole nother ball game, and there's so many different options, and a lot of them are a lot of money.
Yeah, it was spendy.
So you had to supply the pads for Stepmania.
Oh yes, yeah.
Presumably they have their own.
No.
Oh, the Stepmania pads?
Yeah.
That's a great question. it really just, welcome to the world of dance games which have been around for like 20 years and people are still trying to find a way to play it, right? Well, because you got the DDR pads which you see at like arcades, and those are, a lot of them are like DDR Extreme, which came out in like 2003. Like, those are old. You know, those have to be in tip-top shape to be what most people would consider acceptable performance these days. So these days, actually, people will buy this new 5-panel version of the pads called Step Maniacs. Yeah. And that came out of Texas, a guy, and he started selling them and he made a business out of it, and now he's selling those pads for, I don't know, it's something like $1,500 US dollars, and then plus shipping, you know. And so that's how a lot of people play these days. I'm sorry, Mr. Link is being very angry.
This is his interview.
He's dressed up as Link, by the way, right now. He's an 8-month-old baby.
I do want to ask about the Smash Bros. Tourney, too, that you played at, because I'm wondering, are you, like, following along to what's happening on the screen? Like, are you playing dynamically? Do you have to pay attention? Like, okay, someone just died, we need to, like, switch what we're doing?
We tried that a bit in our first set, yeah. So we had 2 sets. We had more of a free form called Smash Bros. That's just what we called it. And then that was kind of the opening set to Abandon Quest. And at the beginning, yeah, it was a little bit more free form and at least attempting to react to what's going on. Proved to be a lot harder than we thought it would be. But honestly, Nelson, our saxophone player, kind of wishes that we had done that more, dived into that more. And, you know, that might not be the end of Smash Brothers plus Abandon Quest. You know, I would say actually the hardest part of that was by far the tournament part of it. You know, these
Like organizing it.
Smash
you know,
Bros
all
players,
that stuff.
yeah, Smash Bros players, they have a very specific way they do things. You know, you get 10 setups, you rent a space for 6 hours, you know, and then you do best of 3, you have brackets, tournament, you know, like, and then all that, and to do that in a live band show, it's like, well, you got to condense it a bit, you know.
Well, it's like loud in the building too, so like people don't know what's going on sometimes. So like you have to have someone kind of like help hand out the controllers and kind of like fill out the bracket as people win, and that's where like Heatbox kind of came in with this show because we needed someone to kind of like add commentary and stuff like that. And he was our friend Aaron, aka Heatbox. He was the dude that was on the mic, kind of, you know, introducing some people and whatnot. Because yeah, it's like we're playing all this crazy music and like we're having a Smash Brothers tournament, but like someone needs to kind of run the tournament too, you know?
Right.
So that was kind of an added element. We learned that along the way. Because, like, the first time we played, like, you know, it's like, what? Who's winning? You know, like, you know, you don't really know. So
It's a lot going on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So you played last year's VGM, VGM Con, I should say, and you, I think, doing the online stuff as well. Like, how does this year compare to what you've done before?
That's a great question. Last year we were really tight, and it was a tight set. It was just kind of we picked our favorite tunes to play, and we just nailed it as well as we could. This time was more of an experimental, show.
Proof of
A
concept.
spectacle
Where
almost, you
we're-
know? It's like,
Yeah.
kind of did a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so when you get the dance music, when you get the dance gamers in there, you want to change the repertoire to be a little bit more dance friendly. You know, hard 4 on the floor, big beats on the downbeats, just pop dancey music, and that's kind of where we started to experiment with this new sound that we have with theology and the DJ aspect of that. But it's a fun place to explore. We're pretty excited for the yet another sound that Abandoned Quest has, which this might be one of the winners, is collaborating with people like, you know, Theology and Vector U and who knows who else.
Right. Yeah, hopefully we get to do something like this again. You know, like Jimmy said, it was an experiment, so I thought it went pretty well for our first time. But yeah, we learned a lot. It was a lot of work.
I found it like it was awesome, and you're not the only act here. I found it's tough to watch you play when the video is so interesting, right? Like I'm very much drawn to like, oh wow, he's got like a 1,500 point, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, where do I look?
Right. Yeah, that was actually really hard to do because we wanted to feature the soloists, like the actual musicians soloists, and to do that, we during the steppers, they actually had simpler parts during some of their solos, you know. But then some of the solos, our guitarist Andy transcribes it verbatim. He plays this almost the same solo every single time because he like crafts it.
Don't
like
give away the recipe.
Like a perfect.
Hey, it's a family recipe.
No, here's the thing. This is
You're overstepping.
What's up, Daniel?
You're overstepping the.
There's nothing wrong about that. It's it is an art, you know. It's an art is crafting
So you
a
guys rock
perfectly
too.
sounding solo, and so that is perfect for our advantage, is to have the steppers do it exactly to those, you know, syncopations.
Did you practice with them at
Yes.
all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About-
March 4th is the first time I took pictures because we've had this set up in
3
your
times.
living room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
This
come
has
over and
been
they'd be like,
living-
what are you
the
guys
hell?
doing here?
Is this
And
a
I'm
little?
like,
Did a boy move in and turn this into like a toy store? This is ridiculous.
It was a pretty funny setup in my living room. It was pretty cool though to look at.
Man.
What about, I've heard some acts here talking about, one I'm thinking in particular, was saying, oh, it was nice to play early on Friday because, you know, then I can just relax. Like, is it sort of nerve-wracking? Are you waiting for your show on Saturday night? Like, oh.
It's like a shot. Yeah, it's like I'll just take the get it over with.
Festivals are like that too, like, cause like, you know, traditionally, like, you know, you have a festival, right? So like, they make you load in at like, you know, noon or like 11 a.m. and then you're like waiting around for like a sound check, and then like you're basically just like, it's like life of a musician, right? You're just like sitting there waiting to play sometimes.
Yeah, I would say that Friday set. Oh, is it a recording still?
Yeah, it's all good, sorry.
Okay, cool. I would say that Friday set, that Friday, you know, night with all those bands, that was the highlight for me for this convention. You know, I really enjoyed Friday night, and really happy to see that there's some amazing musicians that are at all times, you know, throughout the weekend. Like even right now, you know, you got really killer acts playing on a Sunday, you know. So it's a full 3-day convention here. But yeah, we played on Friday last year, and it was fun to chill on a Saturday afterwards. That's the one feedback I had for VGM Con was, you know, hopefully, I know they got a lot to juggle, but NAMM is a convention that a lot of musicians go to, and our guitarist
Mike Green
was at NAMM
just got
until
back.
Saturday morning. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
flew in and got here at like, I don't
So
know,
if you're
6 in the morning, whatever. Took a little nap and then came here. You know.
So like scheduling that is pretty inconvenient.
But next year's
Schedule-wise-
going to be in January though, probably.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay, okay.
it might be good.
Is VGM Con
duh.
always the second week of April?
VGM Con is around this time, so it
Yeah.
probably is not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a funny thing how they were on the same weekend.
I know. That was.
But-
I looked at my calendar. I'm like, uh-oh. That's like me usually though. Like every other week, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, uh-oh.
Got some
Yeah.
overlapping events
Speaking
here.
of uh-ohs,
Yeah.
it wasn't even
Talk to your
planned that
secretary.
Shit.
we didn't even plan for the
Mike
the
Green
dance
calling.
pads to go
Hey,
on
this is
stage.
Mike.
Oh, really?
until right before we played.
Oh, okay. Where were they supposed to be?
They were going to be on the floor right in front of the stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we,
It worked out,
last
though.
minute decided to put it on top.
When you told me that, I was like, oh, that's gonna be crowded. But then, that's a pretty big stage. They have a pretty nice setup here, so I think we're good. Like, I was a little concerned about the stability of the stage at first. Like, I kind of went like wobbled the stage a little bit, and it kind of had a little flex to it. And I'm like, oh boy.
We played.
And it was funny, dude. Like, sorry, when they were stepping and going crazy, my tablet on my music stand was like shaking so hard that like it looked like like a crossword puzzle. Like it was just like crazy. I was like, oh, I can't read this.
No, we played in tighter quarters because we played in practically a bedroom at the Wolf House.
Yeah. We played in
So we were-
small venues, but
Yeah. They were like
we got a
huge.
lot of people now.
Yeah.
Got the dancers. Sorry, the steppers.
steppers.
So is that going to be is that a collaboration you're going to continue?
You know, there's a lot of charts that we did not play yesterday because of setup time, and we've talked about potentially doing another collab with them. It really just depends on opportunities in the future. Ideally, we'd like to pitch this dance concept to other conventions, which
Right.
that's what we're trying to do, is basically pitch it to other people and see if anyone likes it. And if they don't, well, move on.
This kind of was like a pilot, run, like, but yeah, it's kind of like a concept that we can take, like to other events and stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
It was
and
really cool.
you can do it with any rhythm game. So like
Right.
Guitar Hero, that could be cool, where a guitarist is literally shredding with an actual guitar,
Yeah.
and how that would interplay, basically, So there's a lot of ideas, but
That'd be easier than hauling the dance
the
pads.
dance bands,
Oh God.
400 pounds.
All right. Well, where can people check out Abandon Quest? What's on the
Ice
horizon?
House, June 13th. We're playing.
Yeah, we're opening for Bit Brigade.
Our YouTube, it's a big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's just / Abandoned Quest band, or is it just Abandoned Quest for on YouTube?
Yeah, watch out. You have to look for our specific octopus logo.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a D&D group that has the same name as us.
I found that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
It's
funny.
confusing when we're tagging our.
So just
own
type
stuff.
Abandoned Quest band. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, and we love your podcast. There's some really cool people.
Oh, thank you.
You've interviewed, and that's really cool.
Like theology.
Like theology.
Oh, AQVGM.com.
Yeah,
That's our website, and we have a game on there.
yeah. So
we
Streets
made a
of
video
Dank.
game.
Can
Yeah.
play as our bass player, beating up like fat guys and
It's Streets of Rage, but they just took my green screen cuts from our Smash video, and they perform animations like kicks and guitar attack. So,
Was that made in house? Because I know you have programmers in the group.
Yeah, actually, could we quick pimp what they did for us?
Sure.
So, Andy, what did you program for the show that was unique?
well, we wanted something to synchronize audio backing tracks, MIDI for like lights and camera switches and other things, and also video. Jimmy was using a DAW before, but didn't like it. Didn't have some features we need, so I made our own DAW that does all that.
And
Yeah.
what about the page turner app?
So with the MIDI, it does turn page. You can actually configure it to turn pages on a tablet for you. So as we're playing, you don't even have to turn the pages.
Yeah.
A
The
DAW
music
that plays
basically
video,
does it.
does lighting,
Does
sync
it
to
all.
the dance. Yeah, a DAW that can do everything. Goes like, turns your page for you.
Honestly, too much tech for a video game band, and that's hence
The best part, the name of the thing.
Oh, the
reliable,
Python app?
reliable octopus. Yeah, that is our
And then the
dependable tentacle.
yeah.
Is
So the
tablet
program's
apps.
reliable octopus, and then each like that's the master, and then the where it goes out to is a dependable tentacle.
The tablet.
Yeah, we were brainstorming the names, and that one stuck.
Yeah, the tech stuff for us, it can be a nightmare sometimes. Like last night, it actually wasn't the dance pads; it was our in-ear monitor system that failed. So, always trying to make sure we're on top of technical difficulties. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Do a Barrel Roll actually got an in-ear monitor system this year, and it was really cool to see that they're doing that too. Because I felt bad that we were the ones who had the crazy setup. But if you do it right, Austin was saying, it technically can be a faster way to set up. So,
It can.
yeah. But that's if it's done properly, which usually something goes wrong on our end.
We have a kind of a interesting setup.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, Abandoned Quest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.